Okay, everyone, this is Acid Roots. I've got a commentary for you, and we're going to jump into Superhero Movie. Now, this is a spoof, and at times it's pretty funny. I do like these sorts of films. It's from the people who brought you Scary Movie. So, really, I anticipate that you'll probably get a couple laughs. You just have to really pay attention to detail because some of the humor is not always in the script. So and it's worthwhile. A lot of people are going to think off initial reaction that it sucks, but funny is always not going to give you Shakespeare. That's the one thing that you have to realize is just it's not going to happen. So, um, another one that wasn't that good was 40-Year-Old Virgin, but that's gone on to have like pretty fair appeal, and I feel like some of these movies are worth checking out. It's good for a careless Saturday, and in some cases maybe even a Friday afternoon or something. It's just good for that sort of thing. So how you're gonna fall and oh yeah, before you run out and before you turn on this commentary, I do not have the normal edition of Superhero Movie. I have the extended edition. It should say on the box longer, funnier, and more outrageous. So it's gonna add another 6, 7, 8 minutes to the movie. So just know that if you have the original, you might want to just go pick up the extended edition. So that's the one that we will be watching with this commentary. And so we're going to get started. You should go to scene selection, and it should be like highlighted on opening credits. And I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, like 3, 2, 1. And in that, and then after 1 there's going to be an invisible 0 where I would say 0, but I'm not going to. In that blank, you just have to have a sequence order. You're going to press play on opening credits to follow along with this commentary. So scene 1, it should be highlighted, and then just press play when I get to saying 0. So alright, 3, or I'm not going to say it, 3, 2, 1. So you should be started now. You should see dimension, and yeah. So I like this film. When I thought about this, I initially saw these movies throughout the late 2000s decade, and I do have a history with it. I remember seeing Scary Movie 4 in 2006. I saw Epic Movie, and I saw this movie all within, and I wanted to see more of them. If you're wondering, well, are there more of these movies? These are addictive. The answer is yes, there are. And you're just going to get some people that are, they've got kind of a fun atmosphere to them because I'm not necessarily looking for A-list movies that are going to just give me like a enveloping story. Like we don't necessarily need that. You just need something to goof off to, kind of enjoy an afternoon. So really the theme of it, all these superheroes and everything. Unfortunately, it does get tunnel vision a little bit about Spider-Man, but I do think that they start including more. And by the way, this is going to be a part 1 segment. It's about 80 minutes, so I'm going to break them up into 26 minutes. So if you notice, there's 18 scenes, and I'm probably going to watch like 6.5 scenes. So yeah. Now Drake Bell is in this. He's kind of a more based kids and teens based actor, but I think really I don't know what happened as far as his acting career. That's one thing that I'm a little bit curious about is just saying, well, um, he had a show and just dealt with things, but that's okay, you know. Really, I never realized how much I like spoofs. And there's a whole nother one. There's called something called Shaun of the Dead, which I actually did see, but I just don't remember it. And it just goes in on everything. But the trick to doing these is that the humor has to be good. It has to have things that are going to make sense. They have to not make sense, but make sense. And like I mean, it just is interesting seeing what these people can do with it. Because movies, they're worthwhile. Not always do spoofs make it. And I mean, I could think of, you just there's plenty of spoofs that need to happen, and we could use one on like, I mean, Austin Powers is kind of a spoof, and we could probably use one on Batman, and yeah, I mean, you just have to be really aware of like culture, entertainment culture in order to do it. And I actually do like this field. It's one of those things that um has some fun with, it's just fun. Sometimes I lose my train of thought. Um so Kevin Hart's in this, and you're I mean, you'll probably notice if you watch Spider-Man like I have, you'll notice that there's some scenes that are going to be recreated, and Drake Bell he's just unsuspecting. I mean, it's the way that things happen to him. It's strange because certain people are funnier when bad things happen to them than other people, and that's a tough thing to actually get. Just the sort of attitude. If you found someone who can make you laugh when they get hurt, that's it's not necessarily a good thing, but in a movie it is. And so that's one thing comedians can do. But now I just looked up this actress's name, but I don't remember. I think her name is like Sarah something, and she's gonna play our Mary Jane. um, Now there's scenes from like I said, the movie scenes. I think Spider-Man was a healthy choice for something to actually do a commentary on, just because when you look at the movie when it came out, when Spider-Man came out in 2002, this movie came out in 2008. When this movie came out in 2002, it was one of those movies that it reached acclaim, but just the themes of it was serious to the point of saying, yeah, it's kind of when things are too serious and everyone kind of gets all heartfelt every time someone mentions it, it's time for a parody. And so, obviously Spider-Man was popular with the teens, but and I mean in some ways he wasn't, but like forget what I'm trying to say. I mean, it was necessary, and I mean, so you just get like a sense of the concept, because like when what would a person naturally think about climbing up a wall? That's something that the movie didn't do that much, and just assuming that you had powers like an insect or something. It's not everyday type stuff that you get that sense of an attitude. And so this movie is one thing this movie does not have is depth, but it does kind of bring new light on some of the things that a superhero goes through. But that's was one of the main, which is a reason that I chose this movie, is just because all superheroes, they don't slip, and if they do slip, they make up for it later on. So, but there is some just I mean, like movies that you've probably seen once or twice, there is just some plain absurd things that go on. So yeah, if you're saying, well, this movie's a 1 star out of 4 or 5, it's not that off base. There weren't enough characters in Spider-Man though. I mean, like, the whole thing about it was Peter Parker. There weren't terribly many people that he knew. Like, if you don't know, Spider-Man is dealing with pubescence, or I guess that's the word for puberty. But the only characters were Harry Osborn, Mary Jane, Spider-Man, and Harry's father. So this that's like the main thing you think. Okay, well, where does he go when he gets home from school? These are just glaring moments. He's at school, he comes home, there's nothing else going on. And that's the only problem, is it doesn't really have the time to elaborate on anything. It's just a quick spoof. So, like, does Peter Parker like arcades? I mean, I just don't get. That's one thing they don't say, is why he's like a nerd to begin with. Because the types of nerds is, there's nerds that actually like chemicals and science and that sort of thing, and then there's computer nerds that can build and take apart computers, and then there's like ones who know theorems and all those sorts of things. I mean, it doesn't really stress the type of one that he is. Like, they just didn't give Peter Parker a lot, so it just goes on something that is not necessarily, I don't know. You just could have used it. But So, but obviously, if you like this movie, I do recommend Scary Movie. There's 5 of them, and there's just stuff going on along in these movies that's worthwhile. It's a good theme. Spider-Man and is it Spider-Man works. I like to see them do one on like kung fu movies or something. That'd be pretty good, wouldn't you think? Maybe The Matrix, a few of those. Um, but so this is our Green Goblin, and they did put effort into costume design. It wasn't like I forget the name of this hero. I think it's like the Dragonfly or something, but I wouldn't mind knowing what some of my viewers' thoughts on superhero movies are. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people had like their ones at this point. The Marvel and DC universe, there's pretty much a movie for each. There's so many people can like each and every one. Some people may only see Fantastic Four. Some people may only see Superman. Some people may only see Batman. Some people may only see Hulk. There's just the amount of people who haven't seen any is decreasing, and it's decreasing rapidly. So, people who obviously are well in their age, maybe it doesn't work, but Captain America, I mean, there's just these types of heroes have personalities. They're not all going through growing pains. Which in a certain way that does kind of make Spider-Man, it you just kind of get sick of that same problem. Like, I don't necessarily know what Captain America's problem is. You wouldn't be able to say, well, Captain America's problem is just that, well, he's kind of a little bit overconfident. I don't know. Like they don't talk about it nearly as much, but they are successful movies. I'd like to see a sequel to this movie. It would be, it's been good 7 years, 8 years, so so now watch these pictures. It kind of makes fun of the whole. Every photo book has like cheery pictures and everything. Try it out, families. But now, if you didn't know, Mary Jane is kind of seen as like the girl next door, and I do feel like probably in the 60s this was relatively new. So, that's how old Spider-Man is. I think he's about 1962 or something. So, really, that premise is just, hey, I'm friendly. I don't mind doing the things you do, and I'm not super hard to please. Obviously, there's going to be degrees to that, but that's what you're looking at, and so But it's a contrast to like X-Men characters or something. So just be aware. But I think this is the science fair. Maybe I missed it, but so this is not quite one of those films that you just don't get what's going on. And a film where I can say that a little bit is definitely Bill and Ted. I just watched that yesterday, and it's kind of, I mean, it's animated, but at the same time, it just happens to work. So it's I feel like that sort of humor didn't really get introduced that well until movies like Napoleon Dynamite. But um, what I was saying, yeah, I just lost that train of thought. Oh yeah, Bill and Ted. So yeah, Napoleon Dynamite kind of did those movies where you think, what's going on? But the funniness has just gotten better. So like, I don't know if you were to go back and watch a movie from like 1981, 1982 or something. I mean, would you say that this movie is better than like Animal House or something? Like really? I mean, it may be a little bit more up to date, but you just never know if cliches are, tired and worn the hell out. But, it's up to you. His superpowers are starting to set in. And I forgot to talk, I mean, yeah, he did get bit by a dragonfly, almost said eaten. Um, I'm just trying to think about what else is going on. So we're about at part two. So just get ready for that. We are at part two, so you should see Drake Bell walking down the street. I'm gonna pause it, and well, yeah. So all right, everyone, that's part one, and we will get further into this movie as time goes along. Should not take that long, really. I just do this because I know watching an entire hour-long movie or hour and a half, you can't pause it because it puts things out of sync. So it's just